slightly later than scheduled, I'm afraid. Very sorry. I've just been battling with the laptop version of Facebook and trying to go live there, and that is not my friend, so I've managed to hook my phone up and do it this way instead. So hopefully I will see some people appear soon. Hopefully hopefully you've had notifications through that we're here now. Hope everyone's having a good day, good evening. And today, as in the description, just talking about workouts and warm-ups specifically. So getting ready, getting the body ready for a workout, and some best practices around that, and looking at some of the information. So I posted a comment in my Facebook group a few days ago just asking people for some ideas of things they wanted to learn more about, and this was the subject that generated the most discussion, so I thought I'd start with this one. And the question was about with regards to warm-ups for a workout, which ones are best and which exercises are best, and is it okay to just do a lighter weight version of the workout that you're going to do? So I'll come to that second question a little bit later. Where I'm going to start with is covering firstly what's the purpose of a warm-up, and then looking at which exercises are best, and then things like do's and don'ts that you want to consider when you're preparing to do a workout. So firstly, what is the purpose of a warm-up? It's basically to get the body ready to do some exercise, and ultimately to help improve the performance of that workout. So there are a number of ways that physiologically that happens. So the first one you'll notice, as soon as you start moving, the joints will get more lubricated, and once you've been moving for a little while, you'll notice the body and the muscles starting to feel a little warmer, and that's due to the heart working a little harder and pumping blood around the body. You might notice the breathing rate increase, so you're getting more oxygen pumping around into the body, into your muscles, feeding them with all that good stuff, oxygen and the nutrients and energy that it needs to be able to perform. The other thing that you'll get from potentially from doing a warm-up is the mental focus, so getting yourself into the zone, into a state where you're ready to exercise. I know a lot of people struggle with motivation to get moving some days, and just starting to get into the warm-up can be a way of helping to generate that energy you need to help get you ready for the rest of the workout that you're going to do, and find more of that motivation. And there might also be an element of skill practice as part of the warm-up, and perhaps practicing specific movements that you'll be executing later on in the session. An example that springs to mind might be something like gymnastics. In yoga, perhaps some of the moves that you do might be gentler versions, or sort of leading into some bigger movements that you'll be doing later on in the class. And so you can start to practice those movements in the earlier stages, so that then you can go deeper and your body's ready to find a better place with those things. So for example, in yoga, we often include cobra or up dog, which is a back bend pose, in some of the warm-up flows, and that is something that ideally you want the body to be really warm for. But how do you get warm? It's by practicing those moves. So the first few rounds where you do that earlier in the class, you'll be doing more gentle back bends, but then when we come to that again later on in the class and go into a deeper where you're holding those poses for longer, but you've already had a chance to practice those positions that you're going to be in, hopefully that then allows you to find something more with that when you get to it as part of the full workout. So a couple of options for actually doing the workout, the warm-up. Typically a couple of things that get talked about a lot are stretching options. So people either debating the pros and cons of static or dynamic stretching. Static stretching is generally considered not helpful for a warm-up, and particularly in relation to something like running. And that's because, thinking about what it's for, a static stretch is aiming to lengthen the muscle and potentially improve range of motion around a joint. And although those things might be desirable when you're moving, the way that the body achieves that through a static stretch is by relaxation and calming of the nervous system, which is not compatible with something like running or a high impact activity. So something that would be more beneficial would be some more of a dynamic stretch, where you're moving in and out of a range of movement, moving in and out of a position. So an example might be leg swings, kicking the leg forward and backwards, mobilizing that joint, maybe trying to reach your toes up to your hand height or shoulder height to really lengthen the muscles through the back of the leg and activate the hip flexors as well. So those dynamic types of stretching are going to give you more availability for performing well with something like running, where we want the blood flow to be there, we want the oxygen flow to be there, so that the muscles have what they need to be able to perform well. So that's kind of segued into which exercises are best. So when you're thinking about what you want to do for your warm-up, what you need to consider is, what's the purpose of your workout? So what are you hoping to achieve from that day's training session? Some days you're going to be going into the gym or going out for a run and you're going to be taking it really steady. They say that 80% of your training should be more at 20% effort level, very steady, easy pace, especially for runners. And so with that in mind, you might take a warm-up to be a very gentle walk leading into the session. You might do a very short, limited amount of a movement just to bring yourself from perhaps being sat behind a desk into a ready to run state. Might only take a minute or two of really easy, gentle movements. But when you're going into a more high intensity workout, so something like either intervals or sprinting, where you're going to be wanting to perform at a high level to get the best out of that session and make sure that you're pushing your body enough to get the adaptations that you're looking for from that workout, then spending more time and doing more targeted exercises in your workout warm-up will probably be beneficial. So that comes back into things like more specific dynamic stretching. In particular with running, you might want to include some explosive movements, so jumping squats or jumping lunges, something like that, skipping perhaps, to help fire up the muscles in a more, so that they're more responsive and ready to perform when you come into your workout. So another option, and taking it into the gym now, is to just practice lighter weight versions of the exercises that you'll be doing. So for example, squats, you might be doing a few bodyweight squats before you go into the heavier sets with the barbell or with the kettlebells or whatever training equipment that you're using. And is that a valid way to warm up, or is it better to do something like spend 10 minutes on the cross trainer? I think, given the purpose of the warm-up is to get the muscles warm and to make sure that you're fired up with the blood and the oxygen pumping around again that we needed, either way is good. So whatever works for you and that you feel helps bring you into a ready state for that workout. So there is some flexibility there, and I think coming back to that point about the skills practice, especially with something like squats, actually it might be beneficial to practice those movements with a lighter weight before then building it up, and especially so if you are looking to push the maximum weight that you can lift. So if you're in a training session that is aimed at increasing your capacity to squat really heavy, and you're going to be working with a really challenging weight, then you want to build up to that more gradually, rather than doing a warm-up on a bike or a rower and then hi Linda, hello. So rather than doing a warm-up on a bike or a rower and then jumping straight underneath a very heavy barbell, I think it's sensible to build up to that with some warm-up reps beforehand. And bearing in mind that increased muscle temperature is one of the things that we're looking to get, and that has benefits for improving your dynamic strength and power output with things like jumping and sprinting. So any kind of explosive movements that you might be doing, fast intervals for running, or with heavy weightlifting, it's very explosive. You're moving very quickly from your start position to your finish position in a deadlift, where you're picking a weight up off the floor, in a squat where you're pushing the weight up away from that start position at the bottom. There's an explosive element to it, and so making sure that your muscles are warm before you start doing that with a big weight is a very sensible thing to do. And so now coming into things like do's and don'ts, there's a lot of overlap here, and I know I am rambling and umming and ahhing a lot, but I'm going to come now to some do's and don'ts. And this one is overlapping with the last point. Just making sure that what you are doing for your warm-up is related to what you're going to be doing during your workout. So if you are going to go for a really long run, maybe you want to start with a gentle walk, or something like skipping, where it's a similar movement pattern for the hips and the legs as you would be doing with your running. Doing something like press-ups, although it might bring warmth into your muscles and it might get you working really hard, probably not the best warm-up for then going out running. And vice versa, if you're going to be training your upper body strength, then doing some squats, although they might be getting you warmer, maybe not the most useful thing to be doing in relation to the workout that you have planned. So trying to keep things aligned is a good idea. If you're just doing a general workout, or where you'll be working on lots of different body parts, or not taxing anything particularly heavy, and not going to any sort of maximum levels of training, then something more general like a cross trainer, walking on the treadmill or a row machine, or even star jump, something like that, might be a really useful way to warm up, something that you feel fun and enjoy. So another do is go straight in from your warm up into your workout. So that's a don't stand around afterwards and let your body get cold again. So I sometimes see that in the gym, where people will come in, they'll sit and do their warm-ups on the bike, and then they'll bump into someone as they're going around and stand and chat for 5 minutes, and then the body's cooled down a bit. So ideally you want to transition straight from the warm-up into the workout. And again, that's where matching exercise selection plays a role, because for instance, if you start with a walk and then maybe a jog before going into your run, it's progressive into the workout, so you perhaps don't really notice it. And similarly with heavy weights, with the squats or the deadlifts, you start with the bar at a lower weight and then build it up. It becomes part of your workout, so it almost doesn't feel like you're doing a warm-up at all. One I just mentioned, avoid doing something you hate, so do something that you enjoy. If you hate the rowing machine, you don't have to use that for your warm-up. And a cross trainer, for example, I would imagine if you don't like doing squats, then you're probably not training that anyway. And likewise with running, if you don't like running, you're probably not going to be using that for your warm-up anyway. So yeah, keep it in line, and don't feel like you have to do something that you don't enjoy just because you need to do a warm-up. So keep it relevant and keep it enjoyable. Do dynamic stretching rather than static stretching before anything like powerful or sprinting. So there's a strong theme here, but static stretching might be something that actually comes in useful before, say, a yoga class, and that maybe you've just got a specific tight spot that you want to loosen up and stretch into, and release that so that you can move more freely through something like a yoga class. And a static stretching might be more appropriate in that instance. But if you're doing something either powerful or fast, or very quick movements, then make sure your body is using dynamic warm-ups to get there. And the other thing, final point here, is with the do's and don'ts, is to do keep it simple and avoid doing too much, especially if you are working out in a way where you have a target performance zone. You could easily spend 10-15 minutes doing all sorts of weird and wonderful warm-uppy type exercises, but if that, hi Sally, if that makes you too tired for the rest of the workout, then that's not adding to the performance, it's detracting from it. So you want to balance the effort that you put into the warm-up enough to get you really ready to run or really ready to go in whatever it is that you're doing, but not too much that it ends up detracting performance away. So yeah, keep that in mind. Do enough to get you ready to go, avoid doing too much. And that's the last point I have down for today. And I'm sorry, a couple of people have only just joined, but I'm open to questions. So if you have any questions that you want to type in or any comments that you have, feel free to add them in there now. I'll hang around for a minute or two and just do a quick recap of the stuff that I've talked about already so far. So with regard to warm-ups, you want to be aware of what is the purpose of the warm-up, getting the body ready to exercise. So that needs to then be relevant to the workout that you're about to do. So the best exercise that you could use for a warm-up is one that's going to help you feel more prepared to do the workout that you've got planned for that day. And for an easy, gentle workout, it's okay to do the bare minimum. If you're gonna do a high performance workout where you really want to execute well, then you're going to put a bit more effort into the warm-up. But again, as I just finished saying, avoid doing too much. Make sure it's a relevant exercise. Make sure you're going straight from workout to warm-up to workout, all these W words. And make sure it's something that you enjoy doing, or that is going to help you feel ready to go. So I can't see any comments coming through, but I'm happy to take questions afterwards. So if you think of something that you want to message me directly, if you watch the video back and there's something you're not clear on and you want to ask questions, then do please send them through, because I can always reply to you directly, and if it's something I get asked a couple of times, I can share it on the page as well and make sure that I'm answering all your questions. I'm hoping to do a couple more of these, and next topic I've got in mind is something related to nutrition around working out. So pre and post and during workouts, what kind of nutrition is appropriate. So if you have any questions about that, please do let me know, and I'll make sure I cover that off in that session. And I'll post more details about when that will be fairly soon. Ladies, thank you so much, and anyone else who's watching it on the replay, thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great evening.